Accessories Pro.
All right, Ben. The Vikings extended Brian Flores with the asterisk that he stays if he doesn't get a head coaching job. So we still can ask the question, do you believe Brian Flores will be back in 2026?
Yes. Way more so now than I was when we talked about this at the end of the season.
So explain the timing. Like if he's still in the running for the Ravens or the Steelers or maybe there's another job that he interviews for, why sign it now, this extension now? How does that give him leverage as opposed to just continuing the head coaching cycle, still interview? Talk to the Vikings and have this on maybe even a gentleman's agreement like this is possible. Like, hey, look, if I don't get these jobs, we can still do this. Give me the number one reason why they timed it like this and signed this yesterday.
Well, I just think it's mutually beneficial that if they give him the opportunity to still move up and take a head coaching job, I don't know why you wouldn't want to have the job security of knowing, like, I have a job. Like, I got a job, the terms work out, the number works out. It gives, in good faith, to the Vikings the idea that I'm not going to make a lateral move, that I'm going to be your guy. It does do the Vikings a solid, which I think is a smart thing to do. Doesn't leave them hanging for, okay, and when the season's over and all of a sudden now we get into the true offseason, we're going to start focusing more on the college stuff and the draft, that we don't lose our coordinator to another coordinator position. And I don't think, now that he's kind of sniffed around, it doesn't sound like he even wants that. I'd be curious to know how serious he was about all this Dallas Cowboys rumors and all this other stuff. If he takes a head coaching job, nobody's gonna be mad at that, right? Everybody's gonna be like very happy for him. So I just think it is mutually beneficial to both. He's got a job; it's locked in. They're allowing him to move if he takes a head coaching job. I think the idea, and he must have a better idea after sitting down with the Steelers now for the second time, that the likelihood of him being offered the head coaching job at either the Ravens or Steelers is probably waning. And the possibilities are getting less and less. So sign the deal. If by happen chance that they interview some of these, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator for the Rams and all these other guys that are in these positions that can't do in-person interviews, if those fall through and he's sort of a plan B or C, then they can always come back and we'll just have to backfill with his defensive coordinator position here. But I think all likelihood it probably means the writing is on the wall that he's not going to be the top choice for either one of those teams.
Is there any player on the defense that is directly affected by Flores staying?
Well, Harrison Smith. I mean, I know that he's a free agent, but he definitely left the possibility open that if the Vikings, here we are with an even number year, if we make a playoff run and they want to feel like they want to bring him back and he can be helpful, I could see him coming back to play in this scheme because Harry was very specific that if he did make a choice like Eric Kendricks did this year, that it has to be the perfect situation with the right type of defense. It cannot be a man coverage heavy defense. It's got to be similar to what Brian Flores does. That's the only way he'll come back for another season and finish out the season. So he could be greatly affected. Certainly, I think Van Ginkel and Gernard are greatly affected. I mean, if we brought in a coordinator, if we lost him and the coordinator wanted to come in and run a standard 4-3, let's just say a Tampa 2 or something like that, I'm not sure those guys would fit in a Tampa 2. That's not their role. They're not a hand-on-the-ground, 5 technique defensive ends. So we would be wasting, I think, player talents and player contracts if we went that direction. So it's nice that everybody kind of stays pat.
Do you think there's any chance in these conversations Brian had with KOC and all these other people about staying and what they were going to do with the team? Did he say, my defense can play as well as it can, but I have to get a similar effort on the other side of the ball?
I don't think that was part of the conversation. I think, it's not so siloed and compartmentalized within to not understand what's going on the other side of the ball. So I think B-Flow has a really good understanding of where this team is at and what the offense is trending towards and what those decisions might be. Obviously, he doesn't know exactly what they're going to be doing in the offseason offensively, but I think he understands that we're a good football team that's not far away. He's going to focus on the defense, continue to have the defense be a top 10 defense, if he probably understands, if I do that, and obviously we're going to make some tweaks for sure. We all understand that. We still need interior defensive line help. We still need a safety. We still need some defensive backs. Like, all of that stuff's in play. But I think he understands the nucleus of this defense is going to be there. But I don't think that specific conversation probably happened.
Is this one of the most important drafts in Vikings history?
One of, yeah. I mean, once again, you've got to not only hit on the first round guy, but I think that you have to find 3 starters out of this draft. You should.
Yeah.
And that's not high expectations. I mean, I think out of every draft you should find at least 3 immediate starters. I think your third rounder these days, I think your third rounder, depending on the position that they're in, should be a starter.
I mean, the 2 first picks of the Seahawks, the guard from
Trey Zabel, fantastic.
And then is it Eamon Warry?
Yeah, Eamon Warry. Yeah.
They're studs.
They're studs.
And they were their first 2 picks in last year's draft, and they are contributing to a team that will probably play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you want to, obviously, ideally, you want to have 2 high-enders like they have, the 2 guys that we just mentioned, but you just want guys to start. You say you want guys to go out there and contribute and get that game experience. And, yeah, they're going to make mistakes, but you can't not have them play a significant amount of snaps. So, yeah, this is a huge draft for us. And, my knee-jerk reaction right now is probably go offense with that first pick, but we'll see.
One day ago, Sauce tweeted a GIF of Jennifer Lawrence going, okay, thumbs up bit. You know that bit, right?
Yeah.
Famous meme. And he was responding to a Niners Twitter account that asked this question. So again, keep that in mind. This is a Niners fan or a Niners account. Yes or no, would you do this trade? The Niners receive wide receiver Justin Jefferson.
No.
The Vikings receive quarterback Mac Jones, a 2026 second-round pick, and wide receiver Ricky Pearsall.
No. 100% no. I mean, that's as preposterous as the rumors I heard that the Ravens are going to trade Lamar Jackson to the Raiders. What? No. Not if they fired their head coach. Why would they do that? Why would we trade our best player on the team for Mac Jones? No. I mean, all of a sudden now Mac Jones is, I get it. Mac Jones is the next Sam Darnold. I get all that. Could be, could not be.
Right.
More likely not
than
could. So
since the last time you were here, the charges were dropped on Jordan Addison. But we haven't had your opinion yet on the whole noodle bar fiasco. This looks like it's, again, much ado about nothing, but in general, how do you feel about Jordan Addison and just his general sense of judgment?
General sense of judgment, again, is still immaturity. If this was an isolated incident, this is the first time we've ever seen him get in trouble, we'd say, big deal. You're having a good time, and he's drunk at a casino, and you probably on a heater. I don't know the details. Didn't want to leave.
Lucky.
Yeah, lucky.
Or he was not on a heater and he wanted to make all of his money back. Like, look, we've all been young. We've been in a casino. We've all been drunk. Big deal. But like you said, it's the history that he has, and it's a history of making poor choices. And the thing is, dude, we have him for a 5th year. I don't think that we've exercised that 5th year option. He's only hurting himself. There's potentially millions of dollars that he's leaving on the table because he cannot make mature decisions and stay out of the media. So, I think his future is probably not here with the Vikings, and that's not even just that's not just because of his off the field stuff. I just don't think it makes sense to pay him probably what he deserves to have 2 high priced wide receivers. So my whole thought was he was not going to be a long term player here anyway for a second contract. But I think this absolutely assures the fact that he's not going to get a second deal with the Vikings.
And do you believe Jalen Naylor is good enough to be a solid number 2 wide receiver, or would they need to address that?
I think they would need to address that. I love his development and where he's going. I tend to look at this offense and think that we need somebody in that caliber of Addison, a little bit more quick twitch than we have out of Naylor. Naylor's fantastic at that number 3 spot and his ability to kind of move around. But no, I think that they still probably need to find somebody to fill J.A.'s spot.
All right, one last hardcore football question during Vikings news. Also, since we haven't seen you, a lot of firings and hirings across the head coaching carousel. What have you liked, been surprised by? What makes sense? What doesn't make sense in terms of hirings and firings? Well, let's start with Harbaugh. Do you like the Harbaugh fit in New York or not?
Yeah, I do. I think New York doesn't need they don't need a guy to come in and be boisterous like a Brian Daboll. They need a calming CEO. And that's exactly what Harbaugh is. And I think it's a really good business hire for them. If they're looking for a good manager of a team, somebody that obviously has pedigree and a reputation, and immediately when he has his first team meeting with those guys, like, you're going to be transfixed in the fact that, like, dude, we got John Harbaugh as our coach? This is unbelievable, right? So I think the buy-in is going to be immediate. It is the type of temperament I think is perfect for that organization. I think Stefanski is actually a great fit in Atlanta. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with the quarterback situation, because Penix is coming off the injury. Obviously, I'm sure he likes Kirk Cousins, but there is the age factor. And, like, do you really trust that he's going to put you over the hump and get you into the playoffs and get yourself a win or two in the playoffs after 17 games, given his age and lack of mobility? I don't know. I probably think he leans more still towards the youth, but he's got Bijan. That's exactly the type of player that he wants for that offense. I think Mike Tomlin stepping down was probably the right move. You know, they are notoriously loyal to their head coaches, and things have gotten stagnant. Things have gotten really stagnant there. And for a guy that has, you know, molded himself and kind of transitioned into more that CEO and not so much of a defensive coordinator, like, they need defensive help. Like, they need to be more explosive on offense. They need to modernize. And for whatever reason, Tomlin was great for 19 years. It's just, I feel like they were stuck in a rut. They need to refresh there in Pittsburgh. So I think they'll probably go offense with their next head coach, and probably the dude from the Rams, the Shieldhouse guy or something like that.
Right on.